Good morning there, YouTube America. You know, I almost decided I wasn't going to do one of these things this close to from the last one from this location. And at the same time, life is the way it is. We all go through. A lot of us, anyway, we go through our daily routine, taking a lot of things for granted. Things aren't going to change. We work our seven. What is it? Seven to 7 to 3 job or 8 to 4 job and 5 days a week. Go home, have our lunch or our supper, spend time with our family, maybe mow the lawn, do whatever our usual routine, watch some TV. Other people find themselves in positions where they have to do some pretty extraordinary things and some pretty strange patterns to make a living or to just simply to survive. You know, Being homeless has its advantages and disadvantages. I don't have to figure out whether or not that actually makes a difference or not to some people. For me, it's still a learning experience. This job that I took, well, they hired me to do one thing, and they have me doing something completely different. And I'm grateful for the hours and the money. Don't get me wrong. Uh, well, I will be grateful for the money. I haven't really yet to see a whole lot of that yet. I'm hoping to get it checked this week. Uh, I worked 7 o'clock last night to about 2 o'clock this morning, and whistled down here to this location where I reside. Reside in this mobile domicile in well plush comfort, right? Plush comfort, and got get my 4 to 6 hours of sleep. About 9 o'clock in the morning now. We're pretty close to it anyway. And I got to be back there at the shop about 10 a.m. in order to get some road time in this vehicle that I'm actually hired to operate in order to pass the DMV's CDL, which I've been trying to get because they wanted a stipulation on my license that wasn't there, and it wasn't in the applicator on the ad for the job. So here I am trying to get what they need so I can have what I need, take care of my wife and myself, and do the right thing. Of course, everything life's life. Got to do what you got to do. So I'll work 4 or 5 hours this afternoon. Then I'll have a couple hours off. And then back to the shop at 7 to work another one of these 7 to 3 in the morning things. That's going to be this regular schedule for a while. So it doesn't lend itself to a lot of decent sleep or spending time with my wife. And that's also part of life. Not that, a whole lot of people out there aren't having to struggle and work 2 jobs and do some strange things themselves. It just makes life a little more difficult. We take that for granted, and those of us who don't have to do that sort of thing. God bless you, folks who are working double shifts or strange hours to support yourselves and your family. You're doing the right thing. Unfortunately, I've met a few people in the joint that didn't believe in doing the right thing. Just take the easier way out. Well, I can't do that sort of thing. I wasn't very good at that sort of thing when I was younger, and I'm not going to do it when I'm older. And frankly, I'm just not going to do it. Karma's a bitch, as they say, and I've got a lot of a bucket load of bad karma, and I'm doing everything I can to unload that and replace it with good karma. Little things matter. Little things do matter, people. They all add up. Not that I need to tell any of you that. You get that. But life goes on. We do what we got to do. I mean, at least my employers are gracious enough to give me the opportunity to work as many hours as I want to do. Although their idea of scheduling is very convoluted, two separate schedules for two different parts of the job that have a tendency to overlap each other. And then it's an issue of which one has more priority than the other, and then play catch up on the second one so we can come back and make sure everything gets done. Makes for some pretty long and strange days. But sometimes, excuse me, like I said, I just woke up, sun's up, gonna have to get dressed here, and I don't know. That's going to be a challenge by itself. We're not going to put that on YouTube because although it might be amusing for some, I'm just not going to put myself out there like that. And yes, I'm wearing shorts, so don't get any ideas in your head. But you got to do some pretty, was that, contorting things. And then I'm not a contortionist, but I'm 6'2", almost 270 pounds, in a Ford Focus station wagon. So changing into a pair of blue jeans and my work shirt going to be a bit of a challenge, and maybe interesting too. I'll get it. I'll get it done. It's all part of the deal. Got to learn to adapt and overcome. There's a good cliche there, but it's a solid one. It works for me. You know, uh, one of the many adjustments I've had to make coming out of the joint, and that's something we took for granted, but or most people take for granted, is how many little things stymie me. It's just maybe it's me, but having used a lot of public bathrooms lately, everything's touch sensitive or motion sensitive. You don't even have to touch the button to flush the stool. You don't touch the faucet to turn it on, except half the time they don't seem to work. You sit there waving your hand under this faucet and nothing wants to work. And then there's three sinks and maybe one works. And then you get down to the paper dispenser so you can dry your hands off, and you wave your hands into that, and it gives you one little sheet of paper or none, and it doesn't want to work. The toilets took me a minute to find a damn button on it so you can flush it, because they have something we call a courtesy flush. So if you're in the john, and especially in a public john, in the joint, people didn't want to smell your smell, so you did courtesy flushes and you flushed often. It gets into a habit. It's not necessarily a bad habit, but if you can't find the damn button, well, it can be a bit of an experience. It's just like the price of coffee. The fact that everything seems to be automated is nuts. Cell phones, the internet, everything. Here I am in a place where they have free Wi-Fi, and I didn't understand the concept of that sort of thing because 15 years ago that didn't exist. You paid for your internet service, it cost you money, and you still do. You still pay for it. You still get better service, because I'll tell you what, the Wi-Fi here, thanks Burger King, but it sucks. It really does. The reception is pretty bad. Now, maybe that's because I'm not in the Burger King, but I'm pretty close. The area that I'm at, the truck stop, has its own, and it also sucks. Uh, Maybe it's better if I do have my own service, but that's not going to happen for a short stretch. Money's too tight, and we need to find some financial situation that'll help keep us from my wife being in the same position that I am. you know, and karma or life or God or however you want to look at it, has a sense of humor. And usually it's not to your advantage. It's laughing at you or making other people laugh because you're finding the situation not so funny. The dryer at home started acting up. It doesn't want to run. New dryer, $350 for a damn dryer. I can buy a computer for less than that, but I can't buy a decent gas dryer for less than $300. I ain't get a cheap one for less than $300. I ain't got $300, folks, but what do you do? The car that my mother gave me to drive day to day, up and crapped out. It just won't run. Well, something about the security system. I tried to lock it, it bleeped, and then it wouldn't stop bleeping. And my sister thinks the battery's dead, and I can't find a battery. I know it's in there. I know it's in the damn car. It's Illumina. When I get around to it, I'll YouTube it and try to figure out where the hell the damn thing is, and then we'll see if we can't jump start it. Put a filled the damn tank of gas back into the driveway to park it, to switch to this car, and I go out the next day to start the thing up, and that's it. Dead as a post. You know, it's crazy. Just try to get ahead, even just try to stand on my feet, climb myself out of this deep ditch, this hole that I dug, and I'm trying to slowly fill it in and do it the right way. It's rough. It's hard, but we'll get there. I don't have a lot of options, but I do know one thing. Not going back to prison. You know, my small hometown, a handful of people. If you've seen the previous video, you get that. You know, I have some pretty strong opinions on some of this stuff, and it's better that I don't voice them because I get off in some tirade. And well, you might find that funny, but it's not good for the soul, and it doesn't accomplish nothing other than make ourselves look like a loon. You know, uh, some people could take a lesson from that, but it's not my job to teach people stuff. Just to share my experiences and hope somebody out there will benefit from my mistakes and from my achievements, I guess. you know like I said a couple videos back, this is not the sort of thing I would like to be doing for YouTube. If I want to do some stuff on YouTube, I'd rather be talking about some of my favorite things and my passions and my hobbies. I spent a long time in the joint. I wrote a lot of novels. I'm trying to get those typed. I'm trying to get one typed so I can get it out on Kindle. It's a slow process, in part because of these strange hours, and in part because it's hard to find motivation some days when you're just, excuse me, fighting for survival. And yet that's part of survival too. Yeah, what do you do? I created my own, well, for the back of a better term, an RPG. Now, for you non-geeks out there, that's a role-playing game, except the game is actually something very unique. Uh, One of those 100 dozen boxes I've sat there and told you, I'm sitting in the back. I have lots and lots and lots of game stuff that I bought back in the day. Quite familiar with how this stuff works. That's one of the premise cornerstones of writing. If you want to write what you know. If you don't know nothing about, mysteries or whodunits or whatever, romance, don't write those things because it's not going to come out well. Write what you know, stick with that sort of thing, or educate yourself in those things so you know something about what you're writing. So I created a game system that's kind of unique. It has elements of Command and Conquer and Civilization and Dungeons and Dragons and sci-fi settings, more like Shadowrun probably would appropriate, BattleTech. All this stuff is an amalgamation and combined into a system that uses a D100 percentage system, not unlike the old Rollmaster stuff. But one of the two advantages of this game system is A, you don't need another player. It's 100% self-sustainable. You play it, you settle a colony, you hack out a place in the wilderness and the frontier of human expansion. You create a house and you expand to new planets. You deal with NPC merchants and pirates and bad guys and good guys and neighboring NPC houses. Or you have other players who do the same thing, and you collaborate together to work or compete with each other in a game setting. You don't necessarily need a game master to coordinate those things, although it does help. Potentially, this was kind of a concept where you take that bridge between a paper tabletop game and your electronic computer game, and put that out there. Now, I have a working title. It's uh, Interstellar Frontiers. Actually, was going to be Stellar Frontiers, but we found out that one's been taken. Although the game system that they put out is slightly different, and it's digital, where mine's paper based. That'll take me a long time to get it typed up onto a digital format. That was one of the disadvantages in being in prison, was didn't have access to storage media. I typed all this stuff up before on computers and printed them out, but we couldn't store. In their wisdom, they decided that it was a security issue to allow us to have a thumb drive. Some places do, and eventually they'll come around. And I never understood their reasoning behind it, because you know you can check stuff, you can search things. If you get caught with contraband on a digital format, well, somebody working at the institution sent you some stuff you weren't supposed to have, brought it to work, which, hey, folks, that happens. One of these days soon, we're going to do a session about me wailing about the damn system and the correctional officers and staff that work for the Iowa Department of Correction, at least the bad ones, because there's a lot of good folks that are just doing their job. But there's some real Lulus that have no business being in where they're at, and it's a miracle they haven't seen a riot or somebody die because of their attitudes. But that's neither here nor there. We don't want to keep these things short. We're not trying to have another 30-minute rant. But I thought, you might be interested to see, another morning routine. This is my morning routine, America. Although you might argue it's mid-afternoon or late afternoon, depending on the day. That's not the case today. It is about 9 o'clock in the morning. There's a bag Burger King about 300 feet away, serving breakfast. Unfortunately, I got $6. I can't make that $6 stretch very far. And Friday's a couple days away yet. Tomorrow morning, I got to go down to the courthouse and confirm with the courthouse that I'm still homeless. It's a every week thing, which isn't that fun. Now I'm going to have to go downtown now, find a place to park, spend the money for it, go in there just for 2 minutes for them to say, "Are you still homeless?" And I'm going to say yes. They print out a new piece of paper. I get a copy. Then I'm good for another week. Meanwhile, some handful of do-gooders back in my hometown are fretting and screaming and wondering and going, "Oh, we're going to go to the city council," and on and on and on. Well, I really want to say what I want to think here, but I'm trying to be polite, because cussing in public is kind of gauche. Doing it on YouTube, well, that's just sensational or crude, and I'm not going to do that. Well, folks, you guys have yourself a good normal day. Enjoy your Tuesday. Mine's going to be a long one. Good morning. Let me figure out how to shut this thing off.